to order the Glades County Board of County Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 at 9 a.m. We'll have the prayer by Commissioner Taylor, the pledge by Commissioner Patterson. Would everybody please rise?
Lord God, we thank you for the opportunity and the freedom to be here this morning. Lord, thank you for keeping us all during the Thanksgiving holidays. We thank you for your blessings, Lord, of family and friends, Lord, to celebrate. Lord, I pray today that you would lead and guide us with wisdom, discernment. Lord, give us compassion as we lead, and help us to do what is best concerning Glades County. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I want to welcome everybody here today. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? All right, public input on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to provide public comment, please file a comment card on the table at the entrance to the commission chambers. Please note all comments on non-agenda items are limited to 3 minutes and or the board's discretion. And we will lead right into public comment. And I've got a lot of people here who want to speak about the golf course, so we will start with you guys first. Make sure I've got. Michael Glass, would you like to speak first? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Michael Glass, and I reside at 1679 Indian Hills Drive, Portland, Morehead, Lot 45.
Okay.
Okay. I am the manager of the golf course over at the Glades, and I have with me Marcy Matheson, who is the manager of the golf course, and several young ladies who are golfers that were present on the day this happened. Okay. And I prepared a written statement here so that I won't miss anything. Again, I'm Michael Glass, current manager of the Glades Golf Course and a resident of 1679 Indian Hills Drive in the county of Glades. I have with me copies of statements from 8 ladies who were playing golf on the morning of December 5th. I also have copies of dispatch and a record of a complaint that was filed on the same day, December 5th. On December 5th, at approximately 9:30 a.m., small arms gunfire was landing in and around 8 women golfers at the Glades Golf Course, which is in the county of Glades. This occurred in the area of holes 7, 8, and 9, an area that is adjacent to a shooting range. These shots are from semi-automatic weapons. We also hear loud reports from what sounds like cannon fire. On this day, the safety and the lives of our golfers were in danger. We therefore respectfully request that the County of Glades take the necessary steps to eliminate this from happening again by 1, reviewing code violations at the shooting range, and 2, revoking any permits allowing these dangerous events from being repeated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Did you talk to the sheriff's office about this?
I did.
Okay. I would like a copy of that.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you're.
Incidentally, I have signed statements from all the ladies that were present at the time. I have a copy for you, sir.
Make me a packet of it. Pardon me?
It's a golf course, our Glades RV resort.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the gun range is, but it's in Glades County, right?
Yes. As far as I know, I'm not sure. I just know the bullets landed in Glades County.
I can't think of a gun range except for Henry County Sheriff's Office, which is across 80.
Dwayne, do you know anything about a gun range out there?
It's Mr. Buford.
Can't hear you.
If you want to leave those with the county manager.
It's Mr. Buford. You are sure to?
Is that Henry County or?
No, it's Glades.
Glades?
So who do we contact?
Mr. Bucher.
We were there, by Florida statute, he meets the guidelines of Florida statute. We have no authority over that.
Yeah.
His berm is tall, it is safe. It's just as high as ours, at our gun range. So as far as those safety concerns, we can't do anything.
Do you have any idea what happened? Why the?
These ladies are gonna show you.
Yeah, okay.
What happened? I'm sorry that I had
That
happened.
side of it, where the guns were being.
All right, next, bring up Mrs. Charlene Albee. Albee?
I changed my mind, but I'll go ahead. Charlene Albee, and I am a snowbird there in the Glades, 1679 Indian Hills Drive. And, I was golfing on Thursday. I was thinking it was around 10 o'clock, but it could have been 9:30. When somebody came up to us, we were golfing on 6, and another golfer came up on our cart and said, "Don't go any farther, there's gunfire on 7, which was right in front of us. So she went back, and reported it to my class, and I believe he might have called the 911 at that time, but he came up and said, "Don't go on 7, go on 8. When we got to 8, everything was fine, but it is parallel to 7, so here's where the gunfire probably initiated from. There's a canal, some trees, here's 7, here's another set of trees, here's 8. We, we got all the way down to the, green, and as we were walking up the hill, all of a sudden we hear zing! Came right in front of us, between us, I don't know, but it was very, very close, and very loud, a very loud whistle. We all hit the ground, and, once, cause we could hear gunfire, it was like, do-do-do-do-do-do, and then it would be real quiet, and then do-do-do-do, again, off and on. But, at that time, we heard a bullet, which they had said they had heard whistles coming through on 7, and they thought it hit the palm trees and bounced off. So there was definitely stuff coming through. We got up as soon as when we could get up, and we got in our cart, and I said, "Let's get the hell out of here," and I called the office again, and I called 911, we're under fire on pole 8, it's coming through, so. And the bad thing is, there's the driving range is right next to us, and there's house, or campers right along there, so if that bullet travels, and I made the mistake, yesterday, I didn't know where this is initiating from. I don't know anything about that, but I know that, we looked it up, and Southern Guns Shop, or Guns, what's it called, Southern Gunsmith. Okay, so I had his phone number, so I called him, and I was very cordial, nice about it, and I just said, I know nobody would wanna kill somebody, but any one of us, 8 people, could have been killed because there was bullets flying between us. And, he assured me it wasn't coming from his place, he doesn't have a permit for a high powered, he said it sounds like it's an automatic weapon, and he said his berm faces the river. So I don't know where it's coming from, but it needs to be stopped. You shouldn't have, in my opinion, you shouldn't have a berm facing where people are standing, playing golf, and living. It seems when you could turn it around to the river or something, I don't know. So, and I don't know why the sheriff would say that there was nothing they could do. You have a permit to put in a berm, yeah, but you don't have a permit to fire on us at the golf course. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, did y'all ever see anyone?
Did you see anyone?
Yeah, the shooter, did you ever?
No,
see-
there's a big trees between there. You can't see
It's
on
a
the
very
other
side
side.
berm.
Yeah, you couldn't see it. They just reported it to the sheriff, and from what I understand, they went there and.
Sharon Payne, would you like to speak?
No, thank
No.
you. I'm just here for support.
Sherry Williams?
I'm not gonna speak, thank you.
Okay. Deanie Graham, is that how you say that?
It is, no, I'm okay,
Lauren,
Lynn. It's
No.
Lynn, it's French.
oh, Lynn, okay. L-I-N-E, that's how you.
Yeah, it's French.
Lynn, say your last name.
Desrochers.
Okay, Dee, would you you like to speak?
I'm okay with Chuck.
And Janice Andres?
Yes, my name's Janice Andrews. I live at 1227 Northside Road, Moorhaven, Florida, and I golf over there quite frequently. And that's what I have a problem with, was with when the sheriff's department told, them, and they told me, because I called too, and then she said there's nothing that we can do, that we needed to go to our commissioners, and we need to go to, code enforcement on it. And I don't know whether, this isn't the first incident that's happened over there. It's happened 5 years ago over there. And probably at sometime in between that, one of the other guys that works in the golf sack said he had to shut it down one time because of gunfire going across it. I don't know whether they have inexperienced people over there shooting guns, high-powered guns, and they're kicking up over his berm. I mean, I don't know that, but I think that we deserve answers as people that are out there, in public. I mean, it was a very dangerous situation. We're lucky no one was injured or hurt that day. I mean, it was by the grace of God, somebody was watching over us. And, I'm not against guns, believe me. I think every American should be able to have, that's their right. But they do, and the permit does not mean anything if he's, so he's got a permit. I got a permit to deer hunt, but I have to shoot responsibly when I'm out in the woods, that I'm not endangering someone's life or properties or, things like that. So that's kind of how I feel about it, and I don't know whether we need to go farther up with this. I don't know what we're fighting here. I don't understand why a guy that knows, if he's told that he's got gunfire coming across there, and we did not imagine, there's 8 people that witnessed this, why he would not go, oh my God, I've got gunfire going over there, and want to try to do something to make this right. I don't want him to give up his range if that's what he wants, it's his pleasure. But he needs to be able to control what's happening there and control his people that he lets use it or whatever, he's responsible for it. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Well, I can tell you that the county is working on this. We're not taking this lightly. We definitely don't want somebody armed out there on a golf course. I mean, we have enough news in this county.
Or anywhere.
No, you're right. So, Second Amendment does give a lot of gun rights to people, but they still give them the right to fire on innocent people golfing. So we will be working through their county attorney to see what we can do and what we can't do, but I can tell you that as far as the county has researched so far, and we can't find anybody that's permitted with a gun range over there at the time, so unless there's something in there that we haven't found yet, but we are working on this, and we will let you know what the outcome is. And I mean, I don't know how much further I can go, but we're not taking this lightly. We are going to do something. We don't need this to happen again.
So what do we do in the meantime when, they have a business over there to run and we're still hearing gunfire out there. I played last night and I got up to 6 and I was on 4 and 5 and I could hear shots. By the time I got up to 6 and was on 7, it had all stopped. But, I mean, what do we do in the meantime to keep ourselves safe? Just not play and let their business dwindle away, or?
Well, I think the sheriff, I haven't talked to the sheriff yet, but I know that they talked to the person. So, I mean, if we can't stop them from shooting entirely because of their rights, but we can stop them from firing in your direction, hopefully. But I guess I can't really expand on it much more than what I'm telling you right now because I don't know the legalities of it. But and Mr. Pringle, if you would like to say anything at this time or not.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the county commission is in a very difficult spot. I don't think there is anything that you can say today or that I can say today that will make everyone happy. Because clearly there's a strong difference of desired outcomes. The best I can tell you is that based on our conversation this morning, I'm I'm going to try to find what we can do, in terms of protecting citizens and notifying the property owner of the gun range of the liability and strict liability that they have, for injuries. I don't know enough to be able to say, under the Second Amendment, there are many protections of property owners related to gun range operations that come into play. And if I said what all those rights are, there would be many upset people in the room. But the reality is there are many protections and rights that are given constitutionally to gun range owners that I can't do anything about. We'll try to do the best, I'll try to do the best that I can to at least notify the gun range owner and see what permitting, if any, we might be able to require, or what we might be able to say. But this is not an issue where everybody's gonna be happy with the outcome, I suspect. So.
I'm Marcy Mathewson. I'm the resort manager at the Glades RV Resort. When our park is full for snowboard people, we have 470 sites. That is up to 1,000 people. We are the biggest area around here. That'd be like having a shooting range shoot right towards your courthouse right now. So this has to be taken care of in some way. I am appalled that this has happened so many times and nobody's done anything about it. So we need to just make sure something happens and we resolve this issue. I've got too many people and employees' lives at risk.
Like I say, the county attorney will, I mean, we're gonna do as quick as we possibly can to get something done out there, but like I said, we gotta do what we can do legally,
I
so.
understand that.
And we're not taking this lightly, I mean, I definitely don't want anybody harmed out there, but I would think the man would know, since the police have been there, that he's causing problems, but we can enforce that. So
what do we do if this happens again?
I would call 911 every time a bullet comes by,
Okay.
and, I mean, that's.
It took them 4 hours to come.
And nobody came to the park for 4 hours? No sheriff's department? So, did she finally come?
Came at noon, we reported, we called her at 10. And I had to call the second time because, the first dispatch was to the property. So obviously, they knew where the bullets were coming from. They went right over there and talked to them. But no one called us and no one came by until I called the second time, stating that we wanted to make a formal complaint because we didn't know what to do. Half my golf course is closed down. I'm losing money, golfers can't play. We can't send people over there when there's bullets flying around like that. And there was no resolution, and I asked her what we could do in the meantime, and she said, I'll research it and call you back. This was, Staff Sergeant Murray. She did call me back. I have a record of the phone call, at the time of the phone call. And she basically stated to me that it's out of her jurisdiction. We have to talk to somebody at the Glades County, which is why we're here now. And, I said, this all seems like it's being swept under the carpet. And it doesn't seem as though you're taking it seriously at all. I mean, people are being shot at. There's bullets flying around on the golf course. People are trying to play golf. And the people that supposedly are protecting and serving the Glades County are just saying there's nothing we can do about it. I don't accept that. There's gotta be something you can do about it. Just talking about it, is not helping the safety of our park and our golf course.
All I can tell you right now is Mr. Pringle's gonna see what we can do, and we're gonna do our best to protect you. I mean, that's all I can tell you at this moment. But he will work on this and find out what we can do to stop it. I mean, there's gotta be something that can be done. Hopefully.
Maybe.
And we will keep you informed. Once he finds out what can be done, we will let you know.
Mr. Stan, I spoke with you personally on the phone. You have my number, so
Right.
please do give us that consideration.
I don't understand how they can, take precedence of one person over a whole, 470 people living that are living there. But one person,
Yes,
To
ma'am.
me, it's just common sense. I mean, I'm sure this gentleman doesn't wanna kill people or have somebody killed there, and, I mean, they were flying by our head. It's common sense, that's not right,
I agree with
getting
you, but
emotional,
like I
but.
say, we gotta go the legal route, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing we can do right now. He's not going to sit here and play around with it. We're gonna send them a notice and, hopefully we send them a notice and say, here's what happened, what are you gonna do to stop it?
Thank you.
All right, any other, we'll move on then.
thank you for your time.
Thank you. I got some more speakers here if I find them. Maybe I'll come on and do- All right, Mr. Slobo.
Good morning, Richard Sobel, MSRT, to speak to the city. And what I want to talk to you today about is silicosis. You may not know what silicosis is, but you do know what asbestosis is. And silicosis is a restrictive lung disease. I'm talking to you today as a respiratory therapist in pulmonary medicine for over 40 years. I have here, and I will be sending out a listing of articles to your offices, to your email addresses, talking about mining and silicosis. There have been numerous articles that have been coming out in NIH, and CDC, public media, about rural mining affecting residential areas with silicosis. When you mine rock, you create a plume of silicon dust, rock, that can then spread through the area. And if you breathe that in, that creates potential of silicosis. There have been numerous lawsuits, class action lawsuits, against companies that allowed their workers to be exposed to asbestosis. I'm sure you've heard about that. Silicosis, again, is a respiratory disease that is very similar. It stiffens the lungs, it makes it very difficult to breathe. And with these articles that I'll be sending you, it talks about mining and the potential of silicosis. Any questions that you have for me? I don't want to spend hours talking to you about these articles. But I will be sending you a list of links to all the articles that I'm talking about today. And I'll be coming to any other meetings and be able to answer any questions to you.
Tim Farrell.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim Farrell. I live at 1398 South Swing Trail. There's a mine supposedly going in the next, it's not far away from me. It might be 100, 200 yards away. We do not want that there. We do not want to wreck the peace and quiet of the neighborhood, and we don't want all the noise. I just want you guys to understand, we don't want it, okay? We sent out the email to everybody here, and I don't know if you guys got it or not, but I hope everybody gets a chance to read it. Because, we just love it out there, and we don't need that in our neighborhood. And I'm speaking for everybody around in that area too, because unfortunately, they weren't able to make it, but, we don't need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Cornwell.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
been phenomenal so far lately, the last few weeks. Mr. Pringle, Susan, county manager, Judson, they've been going head over heels trying to get us our permits. I understand we're supposed to get them forthwith, and we just really appreciate it. Hopefully we can keep this up for even through phase one as we get ready for the formal phase one, but just, you know, we gotta say thank you, and thank you to staff and the county attorney for all you all have done to help support this project. So I just appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we will move on to presentations and awards. Number one is request from Friends of the County Parks to present an update. She's stepped out. Well, while we're waiting on her, oh, there she is.
Sorry. Yep. Good morning. In your agenda packets, you received a memo, and this morning I left for you some additional documentation I presume you haven't yet had time to read, but I'm gonna try to be brief and just comment on that summary that I left in your chairs this morning, and I left for the clerk and the county manager. Many of you recall that when I first moved to Florida in 2022, I drove you nuts with questions. The poor clerk's office, the property appraiser, everybody. And the reason I did that is I wanted to learn about the documentation of the history of the county parks. I noticed that all of the parks were named after people, but there was no sign. So as we previously reported to you, we have launched a commemorative sign project. We hope to install those in January. In addition to that, when I went through over 15 years of county commission meeting minutes, I found very few records about the history of the beautiful county parks that we have here in Glades County, and it kind of bothered me, so I was off. And I started sitting at Indian Mound Park in the parking lot at least twice a week. For a year and a half I did this. And I would ambush people when they come to Indian Mound County Park and ask them where they came from, how they knew about the park, what prompted them to visit it. This information and these little surveys that we did at the park were a very important component of the grant for which we gave you the report that we applied to the Heritage Commission grant. And I was astonished to learn how many people were coming from somewhere else in Florida. I mistakenly originally thought, oh, this is a beautiful county park. It's very nice for Glades County. The fact is, at least an equal number of people from all around the South Florida region, and really even north of Orlando, equal number to the Hendry and Glades County residents are visiting this park. If you go to the park, you may not see it. It's not like there's crowds or groups of people there every day, but people are constantly filtering in and viewing this park because it's an archaeological monument site. Even though the two largest mounds were largely destroyed in the 50s and 60s, that's the terminology we use for a site that is a monument. It's commemorative. We remember that those things occurred when the indigenous people lived there several thousand years ago over a period of time. This is also a very, very important, according to archaeologists, historical monument site in all of South Florida. The other one that's most important is also here in Glades County at Fort Center. And the reason those are important is because of the artifacts they found there and the habits of the indigenous people that lived there nearly 2,000 years ago in Ortona. The artifacts that were found are now in museums. And our little group was formed last year because we want to help Glades County commemorate, educate people, and acknowledge the importance of this site. And we actually want to compliment you again for having the foresight to protect it as a park. I sat on Larry Lucky Sr.'s front porch twice and wore out the poor man with questions, like I've done many of you, about the history of the park, the history of Ortona, and we gleaned extremely helpful, wonderful information that helped our grant application. But more importantly, it educated our members, and especially our 7 board members and myself, about the responsibility we have toward this park, and we take that very, very seriously. So in the summary that I gave you this morning, you'll notice that we outlined the period of time that we did all of these things in the past and the time that it took us to educate ourselves and to seek out free pro bono services on behalf of the county. Many of these are focused on Indian Mountain County Park because it's your largest. It's a 50-acre parcel. It's huge. Most people don't even realize it's 50 acres. They come to the pavilions or they sit by the lake and they don't see all the beautiful natural special vegetation and scrub in the back of the park, which we hope to address next year. So far, we're just focusing on what we call the forward section, which is the section of the park that has the pavilions and the pathways before you get to the scrub. If you've been to the cane grinding festival, the scrub section begins behind where the tractors usually are in that field, where the U.S. Sugar puts their tractors every year at the cane grinding festival. That is a scrub habitat that's very important to both the protected gopher tortoises in the state and the scrub jay that migrate into South Florida every year. Some of them nest in South Florida year round. We have an important scrub habitat in this park that is not even exposed to the public. And my dream project is to see if we can very delicately, carefully, while protecting it, make another walkway to the rear mound of this park, which is actually the largest that people don't even know is there. Many of you who have lived through your whole lives do already know that the majority of the archaeological evidence of the indigenous people is actually on private land, not inside the park. That will never be revealed, and in fact, many of the monument sites in Indian Mound Park will never be revealed by our work, and it's very important. We don't want to accidentally open the doors to the so-called treasure hunters who misconstrue and think there's something to be dug up there. We don't want people poking around. But the two mounds, the remains of the two mounds that still exist, one is behind the historic pavilion, and the other one is at the corner of the property adjacent to the cemetery. So we, in our grant application, we want to build a pathway of interpretive panels that tell about that history. But more than that, I want to tell you about the vegetation project that we launched in September. After doing all of this research, I personally paid a master naturalist consultant who drove over here and met with me at the park last year. Before recruiting archaeologists, we want to identify the invasive plants in the park and verify my perception, because I'm not a native Floridian. I wanted to make sure I was correct about which plants are invasive and which are native. As many of you know, especially the ranchers in the room, Caesar weed is something that we're gonna have to live with in Florida forever. We'll never, ever eradicate it. But it's a very important and horrible invasive plant in Indian Mound Park that is overtaking and outcompeting the native plants. And it's not only unsightly, that is important for wildlife and for the overall beauty of the park. Many of you ranchers are familiar with Caesar weed that usually gets only about waist high or chest high, which is bad enough. But in Indian Mound Park, we have identified plants that are 10 to 12 feet tall because no one has ever removed them by hand, which is the only way to effectively remove them. We're doing this project because we know that it's not practical for any city or county agency in a public land to do hand removals. It's just not practical. We're not going to do it. It's too costly. In fact, if you added up all of the cost, it would have been if Glades County hired our volunteers and all the consultants and all the services that we've obtained on the summary that I gave you this morning. My very conservative estimation as a former property manager and construction crew chief is that it would be in excess of $100,000. And I say that again, I think I'm underestimating that. We've worked very hard and got a lot of free services. And even if we only paid our volunteers minimum wage, I feel very confident in that dollar amount. So when we're looking at Caesar weed, one of the reasons it must be removed by hand, if you'll notice in the handout I gave you, there's a photograph of what we call a mother root. I can talk about Caesar weed all day, and I'm really trying to restrain myself because it's a fascinating plant. But I want you to understand, and I've talked to Archie Branch and some others about this, that hand removals are the only way to manage this. We are not by any stretch suggesting that the Public Works Department or the county has been negligent. Again, it's not practical for you to remove it by hand. It's the only way to be effective. I talked to Dr. Sellers at the Forage Research Station in Ona,
He like me, hates Caesar weed. And we had a wonderful 2-hour conversation on the phone after he went and searched the library for me at my request. And he was astonished to learn that people don't study Caesar weed because we've pretty much given up. It's impervious to any kind of chemical spray. There's no biological insect of any kind, no fungus that will kill it. Cows will not eat it deliberately. Goats won't eat it. It's just a horrible scourge. The fascinating thing is that the little tiny seed of a Caesar weed plant lives inside a bird fruit that we're all familiar with. If you ever go outdoors, it sticks to our clothes and our boots. Inside that little bird fruit is a tiny seed that can live dormant in the soil for up to 10 years. More importantly, that bird fruit has a hard case that protects the seed, and it'll germinate years later and you don't even know it was down there. So when you mow the Caesar weed or spray it, it just rebounds, it keeps germinating. So we implemented an extremely meticulous removal protocol that we teach our volunteers. We have a handful of extremely dedicated volunteers that thankfully, like me, hate Caesar weed. So we're going to continue this project even after the end of the year. One of our volunteers drives from Buckhead Ridge to the park. It's a 45-minute drive one way for him to even get there. And we're very grateful for them. Pardon me. The maps that I gave you, I just want to point out something else. Those, we have labeled those utility series maps. And that's just we did that hurriedly and initially solely for the purpose of managing the volunteers and telling them where to work. We mapped out each and every vegetation pod, we call them. The larger swaths, we call them islands. And we section out those vegetation pods at every work party, and we assign the volunteers. We will have had only 8 work parties in between the heavy crew, which is me and 2 other people who are the only ones allowed to use like a sawzall or a chainsaw or something. We get permission to do, of course, before we do it. The heavy crew comes in between, and we removed a big pile. I don't know, how big is that pile, Archie? It's about as big as 2 fire trucks of debris already, and we're just getting started. So we carry all the debris, the dead palm fronds, dead tree branches and things that were within the pathways in the park. We have to carry those out by hand to the front of the park so that the Public Works Department can come later and pick them up and take them to the Greenway site. The Caesar weed, we are bagging out because it's so prolific. The only way to get rid of it is to literally bag up all the plants, all the seeds, all the roots, and we're really harvesting the roots, not the plant. And we put them in bags and take them to the landfill. So we are doing all this work by hand. We're probably walking about 20 miles at every work walking back and forth to get the stuff out to the vehicles. And so this will be an ongoing project for us that we hope you'll be pleased with. And even if we do not get the grant awarded to us next year from the Historic Preservation Grant Division, we will still pursue the interpretive panel displays and the signage and the kiosks. We want to work with you and the Public Works Department and the county manager and the archaeologist to be very, very responsible about that. We don't want to be hasty about just throwing up some signs because that's what we think you should say. And we're also working with the families who have organized for the past 40 plus years the Cane Grinding Festival. We're helping them with the festival, and we want to be sensitive to the people who have lived in Ortona and nurtured this park long before we came along. So we talked to many, many of them, including especially the Cane Grinding Festival families. And we actually donated the fee to hire the Bluegrass Band this year at the Cane Grinding Festival, and we're very excited about that too. So I'm kind of babbling a little bit. I don't know if I hit everything I wanted to. Do any of you have any questions or comments? Were you surprised by anything that we said in the summary that we've given you this morning?
You covered it very well. I think you're an expert in Caesar.
You have no idea. We have the same problem on the Florida Trail, so.
We appreciate everything that you're doing out there.
I want to say something about Mr. Branch and the Public Works Department. in the county manager's office. They have tolerated me with extreme professionalism and patience. I ask a lot of questions. I'm always in a hurry. They're very nice. When I pop into Archie Branch's office and say, oh, I need an answer about something right now, we're going to the park now. He has been fantastic in every way. He and I think, in my opinion, have a very pragmatic and practical approach to things. We just want to get the job done. And I want to commend him, and I encourage you to talk to him privately if you want any other opinions about how much I've bothered him. But they are doing a good job. And they've been very helpful, and we're very, very pleased with that working relationship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, I don't have the health department on presentations, but I hear you have something you want, would you like to present that? Good.
Thank you so much. Jennifer Hood, Department of Health in Glades County. And I just want to thank each of you. I have been so blessed to serve at the Department of Health in Glades County for the past 24 years in various roles, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time. An opportunity unexpectedly came up in Highlands County, which is where I grew up, and my family and my husband's family still resides. And we're in a new season of our lives with aging parents that have health issues and empty nesting. So it's important to move closer to home and back with family. So I've accepted a position as the administrator of Department of Health in Highlands County. And I apologize, I tried to get to each of you personally before, but Glades County will always hold, a special place in my heart. And thank you all for your guidance and support, and I've really enjoyed working with each of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We will miss you.
Yes.
And I'm not dropping off the face of the earth, I'm still here, so,
When did you leave?
Joe Pepe will be interim, so we're in the transition phase at this point, and then they will hire a new health officer the first of the year. So, next week will be, kind of the transition, but we'll still be working very closely together.
I wanna lose my playground.
We still have that, and I've already, briefed him on that, and we're great to go on that.
Well, thank you for everything that you've done for us. I know you've been wonders with doing stuff for us.
And I thank you all for your support and for, all that you've done. And like I said, Glades County is a wonderful county, and I know we'll continue to do great things and, to protect, to promote, and improve the health of all individuals in Glades County.
So you can stop the flu from coming this far down.
Got a barrier.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. So, thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we will move on to our consent agenda, which is number 3, county warrants, number 4, federal equitable sharing fund, DOJ request, number 5, local trust fund request. Did I skip something again?
Yeah, number 2.
Oh, it is online. How did I get, that was presentations of awards, sorry about that. I'm getting slack here. Public hearings, we're gonna go back to space. Number 2, request preliminary and final plat approval of the replat of lots 1 and 2, block 3 in the Port LaBelle Ranchettes.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, Susan Duchamp for the record. Before you today is a request for preliminary and final plat approval for the replat of lots 1 and 2, block 3 in the Port LaBelle Ranchettes. This has been properly noticed and publicized. For background information, in the November 12th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Board meeting, there was a public hearing for the Baskin Palms subdivision application, and the P&Z recommended to the Board of County Commissioners to grant both preliminary and final plat approval. One of the things that I do when we have a plat is I send it out to different agencies for review comments. So in your staff report on pages 1 through 2, I provide information on what I receive from different departments and agencies. Glades County engineer and surveyors are the Morris Depew, and they provided their review comments, and they just had one condition that needed to be changed, and that's been met. The Glades County E911 coordinator, they were ones that would assign street names. This is an existing platted subdivision, the street names are already there. Public safety, comments were not provided. Public works, comments weren't provided. A request usually goes out to the school board, and because this is an existing platted subdivision with existing homes out there and people living in them, a request to the school board is not necessary because you'd only be creating 2 additional lots. The health department responded and they had no objection to the replat. And then the next portion of your staff report is where we go through to make sure that there's consistency with the land development regulations. And that consistency is based upon the requirements for subdivision. So staff finds that the application is in compliance with requirements for a preliminary plat application that's provided in your land development regulations, and that's section 137(8)B. And the application and replat are consistent with Florida statute. The applicant would like to request both preliminary and final plat approval for the proposed replat because the creation of 2 more additional lots within an existing platted subdivision is that subdivision already has improvements. In other words, the roads are there, the street lights are there, they have the street lights. The water is there. So the proposed replat of the 6.06 acre parcel into 3 lots is allowable within its existing future land use and land use category. The applicant's engineer and surveyor is here should you have any questions for him. And I'm available for any questions that you may have. I would like to let you know that if you approve this today, then H.L. Bennett's office will provide a Mylar of this replat and we will collect signatures.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Pringle, I believe I was sitting on the planning and zoning board when this went through originally. Do I need to recuse myself from this?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure.
And just for some information, out in the Port LaBelle Ranchette, a minimum of 2 acres is a requirement for a lot out there. This lot is 6.06 acres, and they'll be dividing that into the 3 lots. So each lot will meet the 2 acre minimum requirement.
Well, if everything's in order, I'm going to approve the Bascom Pond subdivision as submitted a replat of lots 1, 2, block 3, Port LaBelle Ranchettes, as per plat recorded in Plat Book 3, page 107 of the public records of Glades County, Florida, in section 36, township 42, S, south, range 29 east.
I'll second.
Mr. Chairman, this is a public hearing, so if you could call for public input, and if I could also make as a part of the record of the proceedings, the staff report and the application that were submitted, and the recommendation of the planning and zoning board, all as a part of the record of this proceeding. I would like to do that. And it is a public hearing.
Do we have any public input? Seeing none, I have a question by Commissioner Sutton, second by Commissioner Patterson. Is this a roll call or is it just a regular?
You can, yes.
So, do we have any more discussion? So we'll do a roll call vote. Myself is yes. Commissioner South?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
It passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, now we will go to the consent agenda. Is that correct? Number 3, county warrants. Number 4, federal equitable sharing fund, DOJ request. Number 5, local trust fund request. Number 6, approve the minutes of the September 23rd, 2024 regular meeting. That's it.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Patterson, second by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Alright, public input on business agenda items. Anyone wishing to provide public comment on agenda item, please fill out a comment card on the table at the entrance to the commission chambers. Please note all comments on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes and/or the board's discretion. Moving on to our business agenda, number 7 is records disposition request number 24-02.
Again, good morning, Chair, Commissioners, Susan Buchon for the record. There's a request to the Board of County Commissioners to approve, a request for disposition. I would like the permission to dispose of the records as listed in the attached report. It's 24-01.
01 was approved last time, so it's going to be.
Oh, 02? Okay, thank you.
What are we looking for?
I've put in a request to the Board of County Commissioners for you to grant approval for the attached records disposition request according to, of
Under
course.
9? You got mixed up here. Our 7 has, Planning Commission.
Yeah, got a little mixed up.
There's a
Yeah, the book says that the planning commission membership appointment is item number 7.
Oh, your book says that, but not the
Yeah,
agenda.
not the agenda.
So you
Yeah,
want
this
me to go and get
no, we got it, it's just in the wrong place.
Okay. I don't know.
Basically, this is all legal advice, Steve.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem.
I'll make a motion to approve the Community Development Department's record disposition request number 24-02 that you said, that's it. 24-02. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Patterson, second by Commissioner Barnes. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, number 8. Planning Commission membership appointment.
So before you today is a request to fill a vacant position on the Planning and Zoning Board. The Glades County Planning Commission is made up of 7 members. There is one board member vacancy with Jeffrey Patterson's resignation, who's now a commissioner. The board members are appointed to staggered terms of 2 years, with each member assigned a seat number designation of 1 through 7. Members holding odd seat numbers have terms that expire on March 31st in odd number years. And members holding even seat numbers have terms that expire on March 31st in even year numbers. When a vacancy occurs, a new member only serves for the balance of the term of the member who resigned. The seat number that was vacated was seat number 6, with the member term expiring March 31st, 2026. 7 Glades County residents have submitted a citizen application for appointment to the Planning Commission / local planning agency. And they are Ms. Kimberly Allen, Mr. Benny Alvarez, Ms. Yvonne Dahl, Ms. Sheila Madrigal, Mr. James Quigley, Mr. Richard Sobel, and Mr. Randy Laskpat. The Board of County Commissioners has the authority to nominate an individual for appointment to fill the vacancy. All appointments by the board require an official action to be effective, and all members of the Planning Commission are required to be bona fide residents of the county. So I have attached for you the membership from your Land Development Code, section 105-22. I've provided a sheet here of your 7 Planning Commission members and by their district. So District 1 was Jeffrey Patterson when he was still on the board, and there were 3 Planning Commission members in that district. Jeffrey Patterson, you're now in District One, excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Jeff-
and also, you have Sharon Hall in there under District Three, but she's actually in District One as well.
Is she in District
Yes,
One? Okay, thank you for the corrections.
Yes, ma'am.
It's hard to read those maps.
Oh, I know.
Aren't they? They really are. And, so then that sheet shows the members that we have, their number that they were assigned. It has, when they were appointed and when their term expires, and number 6 is vacant. And then the other sheet was, I provided the planning commission members by district of the commissioners. And thank you for the correction that Shannon Hall is in District One.
And also Ellen Mears would be District Three. Indeed.
Okay. And Shannon Hall's in District Three?
District One.
One, okay. The map that's provided is the one that I use, that's from the supervisor of elections.
Yes.
And it lists the school district number and it lists the
Yeah, and it
county
gets
commission
confusing
number, but they're not the
because it's
same numbers.
yes.
And I think that's what happened, and I
Yes, ma'am.
apologize. So you have their applications. I don't know if you have any questions, further questions for me.
Is there any statute requiring, that someone from each district be represented? Because I know District One is very heavy right now.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the one point that I wanted to make to the board is in your section 105-22 on the membership requirements and outline of method to appoint a member to the board. In subsection D, the last sentence says, and this was intentional to include this language, the last sentence says, the preference of the Board of County Commissioners is to appoint a planning commission member from each of the county commission districts. However, it is not mandatory to do so. Yes. So that's my thought.
Mr. Chair, I've looked over each of the applications, and while I feel that all would probably do a great job, I see that one has a little more experience, you know, with the county and things concerning the county. So, if we're ready for a motion, I move to approve the appointment of Kimberly Allen to serve on the Glades County Planning Commission for the balance of the term for seat number 6, which expires March 31st, 2026.
I have a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
I think we need to have a little more discussion at this time. Because I was approached quite a while back, well before, Mr. Patterson had announced that he was going to be running for county commissioner by a lady in Lakeport. And, I was approached by another gentleman. And, I mean, I'm like, had he said, everyone's qualified, but with no second coming right there, it seems obvious to me that the other two gentlemen down in the end may have other ideas. Is that true?
I would definitely like to see personally someone from each district,
Yeah.
you know,
I don't think anyone has applied from District 4.
from District Four, I did not see,
There's no one there.
I would make the motion,
Well,
well,
Phil, there's no second.
Yes, sir, unless she withdraws it before it's failed.
But do I have a second? So the motion fails. Now we can move.
Is there any possible way that we could rank them?
We can do it any way you want to, so, if you all wanna pick your top two or top three, or we can, or all of them, we can all rank them. With your number one being one and the last one being, we got here.
6, I think.
And the lowest number would be
7.
in consideration. If that's what y'all wanna do, that's up to you.
Unless someone else has another motion?
Well, I'd like to rank them.
Is that consensus of the board, we wanna rank? Do we have a piece of paper that we can rank with?
We can try to keep up with it.
So do we want to just verbally tell you one by one who our ranks are?
Yes, sir, that would satisfy the requirement that we disclose them publicly in the rankings as well. So yes, you can do it that way. And we'll try to keep up with it and see if, do you wanna rank all 6 of them, or,
So that's the question I
Well,
was.
there's 7 of them, so
I'm sorry, 7,
Rank all 7.
and then for commissioner,
it's up to the board. You wanna rank all 7, you wanna rank top 3, or how you wanna do this?
I'd say, let's rank the top 3, or top, well, I mean, we can do all 7, it's no big deal. And just turn them into, put them on a piece of paper.
so you can either put them on a piece of paper, or you can disclose them and I'll write them down. But in any event, I'm gonna have to disclose them orally into the record, even if you write them down first, I'll still have to disclose them, so either way works, whatever you prefer.
I'm gonna say, being fair, let's write them down and hand them to Mr. Pringle, so that first person don't go, doesn't influence the other person's decision, so we don't.
Sure. And since we're gonna disclose them publicly, you can write on any scrap of paper. That's fine too.
I did the 3, top 3 myself.
We gotta do 7, we just said do 7.
You gotta do 7?
Keep it fair.
And if you would, please write your name somewhere on the paper. This will be graded. Trying to bring levity to the situation.
top pick, is that your way?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I will disclose the votes or the rankings for the record, and then try to do some quick math. We will begin with Commissioner Taylor's rankings. Commissioner Taylor's rankings are number 1, which is preferred, right? Most preferred. Number 1 is Allen. Number 2 is Wagaspak. Am I saying that correctly?
I think so.
Closely. Number 3 is Sobel. Number 4 is Dahl. Number 5 is Madrigal. Number 6 is Quickly. Number 7 is Alvarez. We'll move on to Commissioner Barnes. Commissioner Barnes' ranking is preferred, or number 1 is Wagaspak. Number 2 is Madrigal. Number 3 is Quickly. Number 4 is Allen. Number 5 is Dahl. Number 6 is Alvarez. Number 7 is Sobel. We will move on to Commissioner Sapp's ranking. He ranks Madrigal number 1, Wagaspak number 2, Allen number 3, Dahl number 4, Alvarez number 5, Quigley number 6, Sobel number 7. We then go to Commissioner Patterson. His rank. Okay, so the numbers on the right side are the rankings for you. Yes, sir. Okay, so you ranked Madrigal number 1, Wagaspak number 2, Alvarez number 3, Dahl number 4, Quigley number 5, Sobel number 6, Allen number 7. And then finally, Mr. Stanley, Commissioner Stanley, the chair, ranks Wagaspak number 1, Sobel number 2, Quigley number 3, Allen number 4, Madrigal number 5, Dahl number 6, Alvarez number 7.
They got a tie for first.
Between Wagaspak and
Madrigal. And then Wagaspak got more seconds.
Did you add the whole total up? I mean, if you did that math pretty quick.
No, I just wrote them down. So you can see where first at.
Well, I mean, normally we would like give the number 1 a 1,
Right.
and then add up the scores, and the lowest score would be. But I don't know where that is, but it doesn't. If you say it's tied, then what to do?
well, we can do, give me just a minute and August 5 is got either a number 1 or a number 2 ranking, it looks like, with everyone, but I'm not sure if that makes them number 1 or, I mean, it might be, but we can do it very quickly if you want us to.
Yes, please.
Maybe we can do it quickly. I was not planning on doing this morning, so I didn't, come prepared to do the math.
Any way it goes, we're very happy that there's that many people who are showing interest to be on this board. I wish we could have a board of 50 people.
And will these applicants stay in for the next, no, they'd have to reapply?
first, then have public comment.
So, I wrote down Mr. Patterson's list as he listed them versus writing down the rankings. When I write the correct numbers, which are the rankings, then Commissioner Patterson gave us, then Wagaspike is the low number at 8, and the next lowest number is Madrigal at 14. Those are the two lowest numbers. The next is Allen at 19. So those are the top three. Wagaspike, Madrigal, and Allen in that order. You don't have to follow the rankings, but those are how the rankings came out.
So can we get a motion to, one way or the other, whatever we're gonna do?
So who's got the most votes?
The preferred, the lowest vote, which would be the preferred, selection is Wagaspike at 8. That's the best. Low number is the best. I'm told this is like a golf score, so low number is the best. I don't play golf, so I don't know.
Oh my God,
So
I'm sorry.
Wagaspike is the one that most people like the best. Wagaspike.
You got the least amount of votes.
No, it's the ranking.
He got ranked number 1.
It ranked the highest.
He got ranked number 1. And then Madrigal is number 2 and Allen is number 3.
Okey-dokey.
We need a motion somewhere.
Yes, somebody needs to make a motion. This is not an official, this is just a ranking so that everybody understands everybody else's position. There still needs to be official action taken, Mr. Chairman, in the form of a motion, a second, and a vote of approval of a majority. You're almost done, but not quite.
I'll make a motion, to follow the rankings and nominate, Randy Wagaspike for planning and zoning board. Second.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Patterson, second by Commissioner Barnes. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, number 9, Central Florida Regional Planning Council Planning Advisory Services Agreement for Glades County Impact Fee Study, Board of Commerce Community Planning Technical Assistant Grant.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Jennifer Coda Salisbury with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and today before you, very excited excitingly, Florida Commerce has issued a grant award to Glades County to update the county's impact fee studies. And as part of that, the Regional Planning Council, we have submitted a planning advisory service agreement for the commission's consideration to allow us to perform the scope of work required of the grant. And I'm available for any questions. The grant runs fast and furious, so the project would need to be complete by May 31st. And a lot of data and analysis involved, and then coming back to you all in about March for a progress report, and then a public workshop in April.
I would assume that this report would give us the max, and that we could adopt any level.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sheriff, I may, does this have to be done every year?
No. We have to do it to put them in the first time, but then I don't know if there's a requirement.
Every time.
But luckily, we got a grant to pay for it this time, so.
Yes. I was on third application in, third time's the charm.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the Planning Advisory Services Agreement between Glades County Board of County Commissioners and the Central Florida Regional Planning Council in the amount of $40,000 to allow the Central Florida Regional Planning Council to assist the county in completing the grant scope of work, subject to review by the county attorney, and authorize the chairman to sign.
Got a motion by Commissioner Taylor, second by Commissioner South. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank
We look forward to looking at it.
Alright, number 10, request to approve the purchase of a sound system microphones replacement for the commission chambers.
Yes, sir, this is a request, that the board has asked staff to look into for quite some time right now. We did receive 2 quotes. Carla actually was working on this. The lowest quote is $25,549. And what that does is that replaces the microphones and all the wiring. It's my understanding that there's some wiring there that goes to nowhere, but, it's a professional installation. We have been limping along pretty good for quite some time now, so if the board chooses, we can always wait till the next budget year, but I wanted to make sure you had, an opportunity to consider this.
Would this record it too, or this just?
Yes, sir, this is not recorded.
Microphone?
Mr. Chair, for me, I've noticed on there was, I can't remember which one, but it was, said something to the effect of any fees, licenses, or anything like that. Is there any monthly subscription fees or anything like that that we need to be worrying about as
No,
far as
sir.
the recurring?
No, sir, this is just the microphone system itself.
Well,
$25,000 just for my.
Yes, sir.
I know we still want to look at cameras in here, but I was just wondering if we did something as a speakers and cameras, if we would get a better deal. I don't know, I know speakers are bad, people can't hear out there, but, just seems like an awful lot of money for just a speaker system.
Just testing it out. Can y'all hear?
It's up to the board, I mean,
If I may, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, I know when I spoke with Dawn, when we were, before we started doing the video recording, she said that the court, $30 report would not, honor the video.
And she, originally she was going to contribute to the sound system, but they have done some work with the cameras within the courthouse, so she didn't feel comfortable spending additional funds at this time.
I wonder if she would next year.
Could be, we can.
I don't know, it's up, I mean, do we wanna put up with the speaker system we got for, or do we wanna go out and look at both technologies at the same time? And, I mean, I think probably a lot of this is labor, but, you buy a pretty good karaoke system for have 6 mics.
Comes with CD.
They don't even record. But no, I just, it's up to you guys, I mean,
Well, I'm not for this. I won't go that 25,000. You need a motion to disapprove it? It's written down there.
yeah, it's either approved or disapproved.
I move to disapprove the purchase of a sound system microphone replacement for the commission chambers and associated budget amendment 24-25-05 and authorize the chairman to sign. Nobody can second.
We'll give you a minute. Second, and I know in the beginning, when I was, first started serving my term, we constantly had problems with it, but I don't think we've been having as much problems with it lately. I know we had the little lapels for a while, but everyone can hear me, right? Can y'all hear me? And on the videos, are they picking up the sound? Okay, so, yeah.
Do these still work?
So I think as long as people can hear us, the board or the deer hasn't been giving us as much problem.
That little camera has 3 microphones in it, so it picks up.
I would just like to see a better one put right there for the public. We could do that.
There is a motion on the floor by Commissioner Sapp, second by Commissioner Taylor, and we can look at this further in the future, but to deny this request, is that, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Sometimes when you ask for something that doesn't come out the price that you want. Anyway, number 11, request to approve the purchase of a truck for the road department to replace the vehicle that was involved in an accident.
Yes, we have received quotes from 2 separate dealers, regarding replacement of a vehicle. Archie did spec out the vehicle that we have the quotes on. I did do some further research. If the board wanted to buy a vehicle that was 2-wheel drive, with a regular cab, we could save about $12,000. But I know that, Archie's looking to utilize this vehicle. So Archie can give you a recommendation on what he feels is the best. Otherwise, you have the information in the packet, and we would need to move forward on replacing that vehicle. This is the vehicle that was involved in an accident, so right now we're without, and we would like to replace that vehicle.
Where's Archie? There he is.
So this is a crew cab?
Right, the one that he spec'd out is a crew cab. If the board is interested in a vehicle that is just a regular cab, I do have the specs on that.
Let's go, sir, you best.
Well, actually, originally, we started off with an F-150 quote. It was a little high, so I went back and figured if we're gonna pull a box car that's 10 to 16 foot with equipment in it, we need an F-250, 2-wheel drive truck. So we went back, the county manager discussed it. We went for the F-150. Instead of replacing the box trailer that was wrecked with the vehicle, we'll replace it with an open trailer and bring the equipment in every afternoon and put it in our barn, so it's out of the weather. The box trailer, we never had to unload anything. It was locked, left up, we got in the morning. So we're down to the F-150. I'll replace it with an open air trailer, where he'll pull his equipment on, and he can unload it, put it in the barn in the afternoon. And that's kind of where I'm at. I've got a bunch of quotes on them. I've gone to several different dealers, been on state contract, those are the best I come up with. So I can use the F-150 with the extra cab for the extra weight, with a open trailer. So those are the quotes you got for the F-150 4-wheel drive. He's in Ortona, there's sand next door, he's been stuck, it's not a big deal, we've always got him out, we got him out of the landfill. So I would suggest to the board, for my department, the F-150, extend the cab to replace the one that was wrecked, which was a 2-wheel drive extended cab.
This is a 4-wheel drive?
This is a 4-wheel drive, and that would be
not replacing the box trailer that was totaled with the truck, but replacing it with an open air trailer.
Is there any reason why we have to pull the equipment back and forth every day?
Since I worked for the county, to be coming up on 14 years, we've had 4 mowers and all equipment stolen from that cemetery. No matter what we do to that garage door, with it being out there in the wooded area, they come back up with a truck, hook a chain to it, no matter what we put there, they can get it if they want it. So we started saving the money and hauling it back. And that's the only reason we transfer it.
Well, don't you have to use this to haul to the other folks too, or?
Exactly. This truck is not just for one person to go back and forth to the landfill. This truck can be used to haul the tack machine, it can be hauled for a 4-foot roller. I mean, there's just multiple things. He can go pick up asphalt from, pallets of asphalt with a trailer behind him. It's a multi-use truck. No one out there in that department, with the exception of myself, has a personal vehicle. So if he's not there that day and I need that truck to pull a trailer and go pick up limbs at the courthouse while we're mowing, then that's what it's used for.
Well, this motion that's written here, is it for this truck? Is it as written? Or does it say on there, four-wheel drive or two-wheel?
It is not, the way the motion was written was because we didn't have all the information, at the time of agenda. So we made it very, very general, so.
You read everything in and then say it's for the,
Say the one that you want.
Right, the four-wheel drive.
Say the one that you want up.
it's an F-150 four-wheel drive for city cab.
Yes, sir.
I so moved.
Second motion by Commissioner Sepp, second by Commissioner Barnes. Was that clear enough in the description? Did you get what you want?
And we need to make sure that we approve the budget amendment also.
Yeah,
The budget amendment will have the price in it.
this will come out of the general fund because it's not there.
So, so you need to add into your motion, accepting the truck from the dealership to acceptable terms and approve the associated budget amendment BA 24-25-06 and authorize the chairman to sign. Do we need to put the amount of dollars in there?
Yes.
And is that,
Which is the Gilbert.
that's the $46,231.50?
Correct.
And that's your motion, Mr. South?
Yes.
And that's your second, Mr. Warren? Okay. Any discussion?
What was the original price on that F-250?
47,263, I believe, on the 250. That's the two-wheel drive.
So this is just,
This is a half-ton truck. Consider not we're gonna replace the box trailer, we could do away with the F-250, two-wheel drive.
This is a four-wheel drive deal, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is a heavier duty truck with the F-150, but we're gonna replace it with an open air utility trailer to transport instead of the box trailer.
You're pleased with this?
Yes, ma'am.
This serves your needs?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 4-1.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, number 12, review and consider county manager applications.
yes, sir, I did pass out an additional application that we received over the weekend before the closing date. So that it was not included actually in the packet, you have an additional application to consider.
And that is Mr. Gary Blake.
Yes, sir. And what we would do today is actually, determine which applicants you would like to interview, for the 17th, which is next week.
Did we, put this out for the 15th? I know it was, but I didn't see it last week. I don't know. It was in there?
Well, I don't know if it was the last week's, but I think it was on the week before.
Oh, okay. Very good. And we don't know what we need to look at that, okay? Because I know Commissioner Barnes isn't gonna our original plan was to do the interviews on the 17th, do our selections on the 23rd, and, but Mr. Barnes is gonna be out of town. He's already had a previous trip planned before he was, elected. That it may be that we could make our selection on the 17th if the notice, I don't know what the notice said, so did it just say,
Selection for the potential.
it said selection? So, I mean, that would be up to the board if you wanted to interview that day, take a break and come back after you. And that would give Mr. Barnes a chance to be in on the selection of the, you will be here on the 17th, right? But, I mean, it's up to you, we can go to the 23rd, it's totally up to the board, but, I'm just putting that out there as a suggestion.
Mr. Chair, if I may, if it had been advertised that we are allowed to make a selection on the 17th.
It said interview for potential county manager, not selection.
Oh,
That's what we're doing, we're interviewing.
So we may not be able to do the selection on the 17th if it says that, so. So that's a moot point. So we will still go with the original plan of the 23rd, for the selection. But right now, today, we need to decide on who we're gonna interview on the 17th. We can interview them all, we can interview the top three, we can interview whatever you wanna do. I know two of them, one of these guys lives in Washington State. It'd be up to him if he wants to drive all the way here, but, or fly or whatever he wants to do. But, he did put his application in, but like I say, it's totally up to the board. We can interview them all, we can interview whoever you want to interview.
Well, I don't think it's necessary to interview everyone. Three at the most, I'd rather go to.
Mike, just personally, I would take the three that are here in Florida, Mr. Blake, Mr. Hawthorne, and Mr. Carlisle, but that's just my opinion.
That's what I have in my notes. Cause one lives in Illinois and the other in Washington. Well, I haven't been against other states or people from other states.
Well, it's totally up to the board.
He said Blake, Hawthorne, and Carlisle?
Hawthorne, Carlisle, and Blake, yes, that's the three that I just.
I move that we interview Hawthorne, Carlisle, and Blake for the position.
So I got a motion by Commissioner Sapp to interview Mr. Stanley Hawthorne, Mr. Paul Carlisle, Mr. Gary Blake on the 17th, and seconded by Mr. Barnes. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
We will, contact the applicants.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, if I may, since Commissioner Barnes will be here on the 17th to interview, could he leave his ranking with someone, with the attorney, or, no, he couldn't go ahead and rank, he had to
No
be here.
proxy.
Okay. That was just it.
Good one, but.
We can do a, on the phone tag, though.
Yes, sir, I'm gonna verify just how much involvement, Commissioner Barnes can have over the telephone. Because this was already, because the plan was already, the vacation plan or the out-of-town plan was already in place, before he was elected. It may be that he can fully participate. That may be a decision, however, the board has to make before he can participate. You may have to decide whether that's allowable or not, the other board members.
And we could just do that as a simple motion before the meeting on the 23rd to allow him, if it's legal.
Yes, sir, at the beginning of the meeting to authorize him to.
I've seen that.
To accept, yes, sir. By telephone, yep.
All right. Any other questions on So the 17th, what time did we say we were starting, or anybody remember?
I believe it was 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
And
Number
Well, it's not.
9, and then
And what day?
it'll be at the EOC.
Yes.
I'll send out an email reminder to everyone.
It'll be at the EOC, and then, we will notify the top, the 3 that, and then you'll notify the other 2 that they weren't selected to interview.
Yeah, 17
No. Okay.
All right, we're moving on to number 13, adoption of a resolution for notification of county's intention to impose a non-ad valorem assessment for fire services and or emergency rescue services. Mr. Tringle, would you like to?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is an item that has been before the board for a number of years in the past. Under state law, the Board of County Commissioners has to notify and disclose their intention to possibly adopt an assessment for fire and EMS services at or before January 1st. So that's why it's on your agenda today. It has to be noticed as required by the statute 4 times in advance, and I took care of all of that, so it's properly before you today. If you have any expectation, or if there's any possibility that you may adopt an assessment for fire and EMS, a special assessment in the upcoming calendar year, you need to approve this resolution today. Then this resolution will be circulated to the property appraiser office and to the state of Florida office, so that they know that it's a possibility that you may adopt a non-ad valorem assessment for this purpose. It's not binding, it's a prerequisite step you have to take. If you don't take it, then you cannot consider taking this action in the 2025 calendar year. So it's a prerequisite, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna do it, it just means you have the opportunity to do this action.
Just in case.
Yes, ma'am, and we've done this for, I don't know how many years. In some years, this is the only action that is taken, and then nothing else happens. In other years, there has been a considerable amount of discussion and even studies done to support the imposition of the assessment on a countywide basis. And at one point, you went through the entire process, and the matter, the imposition of the assessment failed at the final public hearing to consider the adoption of the assessment. So the board has been all over the place in terms of the action that you have taken in years past. But if you don't do this, it's off the table.
So if we did do this and it went off the table, and then say 2 years from now we decide to do it again, it's just a matter of adopting these
Yes,
resolutions.
you can go back in future years and take this action in future years for 26 or 27, or any year after that, to further consider adopting the assessment. The idea is that when you are going to adopt a non-ad valorem assessment, the first time you're gonna do that, you have to go through all these extra steps to notify the public. Once the assessment is adopted and in place, then it goes on the tax rolls, the tax collector puts it on the tax bills, and every year you re-adopt it, but you don't have to go through all these extra steps. This is just the first time through that you have to take this extra special effort.
Well, I know personally I've been through most of these through years and years, and it always fails in the end, but I would love to see this on the ballot on our next, in 2026, for the people to vote whether they are for this or against it, so that if we do decide to go through this motion again, that we have the backing of the majority of the people, because I know it all looks good and we always have a great plan, and then when you get to the final meeting and you got 50 people in a room saying they don't like it, and the board seems to crumble every time, and we waste all this effort trying to get something done that, that 50 people basically said, don't do it. But I think if we did this so if we put on a referendum, I mean, it doesn't mean that people would be voting, wouldn't mean that it's gonna have to happen, it would be, but it would give the backing of the board when they go into these meetings, say, well, 75% of the people said they wanted this, I can't, I think it would be a lot better chance of it passing in the future. But carrying this on another step, it's not gonna hurt us either way, but I'm not ready to go the full span this year myself. I don't know what the rest of the board's willing to do, but I just think we're spinning our wheels, wasting a lot of time spending money for something that probably won't pass unless we do this referendum. That's my thing.
I think it's got to go before the public. I agree with you, because just like I said, they go crying and complaining in here, we say, okay, no. But I think we should do this. It doesn't say we're going to do it, it says it's put in order to do it. So with that in mind, I move to adopt a resolution to provide notification of the county's intention to impose a non-ad valorem assessment for fire services and or emergency rescue services in 2025. But, now is this gonna, the way it's written here, it's simply gonna be, the intention set there, it's not gonna happen until it goes before the board.
Yes, sir. There are a number of extra actions by the board that have to take place before you can adopt this. This is a placeholder.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Sapp, second by Mr. Taylor. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm with you. I'd like to see this go before the ballot as well, just like Commissioner Sapp said. I understand this is just kind of a monumental deal to do right now, and I'm wholeheartedly with it.
I need to ask for public comment on this.
You can, yes.
Any public comment? Seeing none, any more discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Myself is yes. Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Zapp?
Yes.
Who do you say?
Well,
it sounds exactly the same.
I need to speak loud.
That's how I answered yours.
That's why we need microphones.
Go get him.
Mr. Zapp is yes. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. All right, got a lot done today. So far. Constitutional officer, Sheriff's Department, we have it here from Tanya, nothing. And anybody else? County attorney.
Yes, sir. Just to let you know, there is an application going before the Planning and Zoning Board this evening for the Big Lake Development Project. It is another substantial development project in Glades County, and an unbelievable amount of effort is being expended to get these huge developments approved in a form that will not have an adverse impact on the county, but rather will have a positive impact on the county. There's been a lot of time and effort that has been committed by your staff to these projects, and Big Lake is coming up this evening for hearing, for the first of the hearings. Also, as indicated earlier by Mr. Carlisle, I believe we are right on the verge of having building permits, the first building permits issued for Lakefront Estates, another, I would call, huge project for Glades County. So that should be happening anytime as well. A lot of time has been expended on those projects, by my office as well, by me. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the items. I hope we are not going to disappoint folks related to that topic that came up this morning, but that's gonna be a hard topic for us to resolve, for anyone to be happy with us. I'm concerned, but I will do the best that I can to help with that.
it's a touchy matter, but I would like for us to send at least a letter to that property owner and say, this is what was complained to us, you know, and just let them know that, because, I mean, these people come in here and talk to us today, if one gets shot up there next week on that golf course, it's gonna be a bad thing.
And I have notes of possible letters. The enforcement aspect is the part that I'm not sure we have a great deal of authority to do, but I will try.
I would appreciate it if you could put that like on your file. Anything for the county attorney, anything else?
I do agree with, our chair here. I know we're not legally, I wanted to tell them if it was legal for me to go out there myself and put up a sign, you know, I'm all for people shooting, I like to go shooting myself, but for bullets to go where they're not supposed to be going, and legally, we may not have any control over that, but we need to try to do what we can do. Because, if someone gets shot, they're gonna say, well, we took it to the county and they didn't make concern, so.
I'll try to get that letter drafted in the next day or so.
And also, while I got you here, thank you for getting us to the nitty gritty.
You're welcome.
With Lake Francis Day, appreciate that, and so I know it's gonna keep moving right along. So I heard some good things this morning, so I wanted to thank you and the staff and Ms. Sue for doing that, and I do hope things can continue to move right along with the Big Lake.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I think work is continuing to occur at a pretty rapid pace on 721 as well. I've had a number of conversations with the attorney for the tribe related to that project, and it seems to be moving ahead too. And so there are several items like that that are good, that are in the process.
All right, moving on, county manager.
Yes, sir. I did provide the board members, with an update, for code enforcement. There's a memo in your box if you haven't seen that. We did have some cases go before the judge and, I provided a memo, with the results of that. Also, the legislative delegation is going to be January 8th. The delegation will be here from 3:30 to 4:30, and then they will, go to the Doyle Connor building for the workshop on the water storage. That is going to be from 5:30 to 7. So I did provide that information, is also in your box for you. So you will have that. Marty Milkey from Senator Grohl's office actually sent that to us. So you do have that information in your box, in a memo. And that's all I have for you today.
Can I get a copy of that memo you provided to the board about the
Absolutely, yes.
Anything for the county manager?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to check the meeting on the January 8th.
Yes, sir.
I know at one point we had talked about having a workshop on moratorium as well, and that was gonna be December 10th when the original meeting was. After that has been moved, has that been re-advertised for the moratorium workshop as well?
We will re-advertise that. I have to get with Mr. Pringle on exactly how we do that because it's gonna be part of Senator Grohl's. So we just have to make sure that we get the advertisement correct for that.
Yes, ma'am.
But we will, yes.
And thank you for the code enforcement updates that we
Yes,
have.
sir.
Okay, I know they fining 7th Street $15 a day, but it still probably ain't gonna stop them from just letting the fines ride, but, I have talked to Henry County a little bit about their code enforcement. I think we ought to look at their policy. They actually go in and do, enforcement on the liens after so long. I don't know exactly when they do that, but, because we're just gonna sit here and $15 a day in 10 years, the guy's gonna have $500,000 worth of fines on the property and still doing the same thing that he's doing. But fine you $15 a day, but, so maybe we go collect the $15 every day, if he don't do it, doesn't happen, then we put him in jail. You know, we gotta do something, like, this is ridiculous that these people are living in a tent in a neighborhood that's been going on for probably almost a year now. I don't know what we gotta do, but we need to fix that, so that doesn't happen anywhere else.
Is there not anything that, excuse me, Mr. Chair, that law enforcement can do, or are they going to work together with us with the code?
Law enforcement said they'll work with us, but we don't have any law that, that they're breaking, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, I would like to have something done. I don't care if we have to make an ordinance or whatever, we gotta get something done. Moving along, department heads, Archie, you have any, change my eyes for 1 minute, any other department heads in here, Ms. Bouchon? You have anything from the EDC?
Nothing to report, working on the Wedgeworths project, so.
And we are going to have a meeting with Rosemary, Central Planning Council, and Connie, and talk about the Wedgeworth thing tomorrow to see if we can help them or not. So it's just not the board, but anyway. Did I miss anybody else? Tasha, you have anything? Bailey?
Maybe one play Christmas luncheon today at the Four Corners from 12 to 1.
Sounds good. Move on to commissioners' items. Mr. Barnes. Nothing. You better learn. This is your chance. Mr. Patterson.
Just a couple things. I had a couple people reach out to me while in Tampa training, which was very informative, and learned a lot about the roadside mowing going on out there. There was a lot of trash and things like that. They were concerned about it, and I told them that I would get with county manager.
Mrs. Taylor.
Like Commissioner Patterson said, we did have an opportunity to attend a legislative conference in Tampa, and it's always very informative, and you learn a lot. I'm glad I didn't have to attend the new commissioners boot camp. Anyway, it's always a privilege to get to go and try to acquire knowledge and learn about PFAS in the water. So that was at one of our workshops, but anyways. I started rambling on and forgot what I was gonna say, but thank you again for, like I said, we know the definition of nitty-gritty now, and we're there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You're across the line.
Oh, Archie is gone, but I don't know, did the cemetery, with some more maintenance happened to have occurred?
I will check. We did get another phone call.
I believe it was Veterans Day that we were out there.
Yes.
That's it.
Mr. Seth.
Well, I had a talk with Archie about the cemetery, and he told me some of the reasons why things would happen like that, but he's going to get on it and get it taken care of. But, I was in Ms. Bouchon's office yesterday morning. And I don't know if y'all have been in her office and paid attention, but behind her, there's a board with the projects that we have going in the county now. And there's 21 of them. And last year, 2 years ago, maybe had 5 or something. She's inundated with projects, and we've got to think about getting her some help in there. Someone that knows how to do it, that it's not she's going to sit there training. She needs someone to be able to move in there and go to work. We really need to look at that. So, that's one more thing. And then we're gonna go back to, I guess it was last year, a couple of years ago, we were talking about, when when the county turned 100 years old, we were gonna have a celebration, something at the Joel Connor Building, and invite people from every community in there. And I've had people ask me, are we still going to do that? And I think we need to look at that and see why. The history of Glades County goes way back, and I think we really need to look into doing that. So, I don't know who we'll, wait until after we get a new county manager and put it on here together. Whoever.
Take us back 3 years.
But it's very important to me. A lot of the old timers that built this county have passed away, and their offspring. I have a friend up at Palmdale, and he and I were talking the other day. If y'all had been sitting in there listening, you would have been amazed at what he and I know and what we've witnessed as kids growing up. And a lot of people in this county has no idea what made this county. So let's don't let this die. Let's figure out a way to have that program. And I'm trying to think about. I've gotten calls out of abuse. Thank the Lord, it's not about water. It's about dogs. So another thing we talked about, we talked about code enforcement, and we were going to hand it over to the sheriff, and we talked about it some, and there was some reason, but a code enforcement officer has to be trained, correct? Does he have to go through steps like?
He has to be.
No, I'm sorry, I'm talking about building inspectors.
Code enforcement also.
But are we still planning on turning code enforcement over to the sheriff?
Yeah, I had talked to the sheriff, and he was wanting to wait till after the first of the year. He's got a lot of stuff going on with the jail right now.
Okay.
But, yeah, we have to figure out how we're gonna, it's already budgeted in the county's budget. We'd have to turn that budget over, so it should be a push, but I don't know, we haven't worked out the details. I don't know if the guy's gonna be officed over here, or if he's gonna be officed at the sheriff's department, so that's just some of the issues we gotta look at, but I think, the sheriff said he would take over the dog catcher and the, thing at one time, so I think that'd be a great, especially if you have somebody showing up with a gun on their side at your door saying, hey, y'all need to move. I think it's got a lot more effect than just somebody walking up there and taking ties. So we'll work on that. But I would say, last I talked to the sheriff, we wanted to wait till after the first of the year. Anything else?
I think that's it.
I don't have a whole lot either. Like I say, 7th Street's a major problem, but, when we were up there in that conference, I'm gonna give this to the sheriff, but there's a company that, through the Affordable Care Act, when a prisoner comes into the jail, they sign him up for insurance immediately. And if anything happens to him, he's 100% covered, with this plan. Now, once he's convicted, then this doesn't work anymore. But these people can carry this with them out of the jail for 5 years after they're released if there's no crime. And this company supplies the laptops, everything to the sheriff's department, and all they gotta do is the guy signs the paper, he's insured. So there was a lot of commissioners up there in our meeting that spoke up. One lady said they had to air flight one of their guys out because of his having a heart attack, but this paid for everything. Whereas the county, right now, if that happens to them, we're liable, we pay that fee. So I'm hoping that the sheriff will look at this and sign up for it, because it's a no cost. It sounds like it's too good to be true, but it is a good program, so. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Is there anything else that we need to discuss?